Good evening, coaches. My name is Joshua Shee, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Glazier eClinic presented by Huddle. Our 2018 eClinics are new and improved. You can experience a live eClinic from wherever you are and enjoy hearing from top offensive and defensive coaches. This eClinic is going to be streaming live directly to the Glazier Vault or on Zoom. Live chat and Q&A are available only inside of the Zoom platform, so if you're in there, be sure and ask any questions you have and talk amongst yourselves. We're going to get started here in just a moment, but first, a quick word from our sponsors. Huddle Sideline is an instant replay solution that allows you to adjust at game speed. Instant replay has dramatically changed the football landscape by giving coaches instant insight anywhere on the field. Our defense went from one of the worst to the best in the league, thanks in part to replay. It is an awesome tool that really makes a difference. This is the best thing since the forward pass. There's no more waiting till Saturday to find out what was actually going on. Last year, over 4,000 teams used Huddle Sideline to provide replay during games. To see how Huddle can help you adjust at game speed, learn more at huddlesideline.com. Championship Analytics has helped over 30 Division I college programs improve their fourth down decision-making and in-game strategies through their patented CAI Gamebook solution and strategy training services. Championship Analytics is now offering its services to select high school programs. Learn about how Championship Analytics can help your program win more games. To set up a meeting with the Championship Analytics team, email them at info@championshipanalytics.com. That's info@championshipanalytics.com. Championship Analytics. Elevate your thinking. Better insights, better decisions, more wins. All right, coaches, welcome to the eClinic presented by Huddle with Coach Chad Hetlet, who will be speaking on 4 25-minute topics this evening, and I've got the schedule up right there. Chad Hetlet has been a head coach for 14 seasons at 3 different schools. He has a career record of 139-28 and has been one of the quickest coaches to reach the 100-win mark in Illinois history. Chad Hetlet became the head football coach at Glenbard West in 2007. In that time, his teams have gone 121-18, captured 9 West Suburban Silver Conference championships, appeared in 7 state semifinal games in 9 years and 3 state championship games. And his team won the state championship twice in 2012 and 2015. His teams have been ranked in the top 50 nationally 6 of the last 8 years and twice in the top 25 by the USA Today, number 20 in 2012 and number 24 in 2015. One of the most impressive stats is that Glenbard West has held 108 of the last 130 opponents to 14 or less points. Chad has been asked to speak all over the country on his 3-3 defense at numerous colleges and football clinics. Coaches will be holding the Q&A towards the very end of this eClinic, so I'd like to encourage you to use the live chat on Zoom and keep the discussion going with yourselves. Any questions you have, I will be directing directly to Chad Hetlet at the very end after he's done speaking. All right, Coach, that's all from me. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you now. Screen share whenever you're.
All right, you guys got me?
Yeah, Coach, hear you loud and clear.
You got my screen?
Not just yet. Did you tap the screen share button, Coach?
It says it's screen sharing right now. What about now?
Yeah, I've got you, Coach. Go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to talk about pressure with a purpose in the 3-3 for our first session tonight. Appreciate you guys being on. this being the first evening of the tournament. So I'm sure you guys got a TV by your side while you're listening to some football. So God bless you for that. I'm going to talk, specifically about what we do. And it's really simple in the sense that we try to pattern our defense and match up our pressures with what protections we might see each week. So with that being said, defensively, I guess I basically talked about all this kind of stuff on this PowerPoint, so I'm going to skip through that. So a lot of the screens that you'll see are screens off these PowerPoints that we share with our kids. So you have to understand the mentality of what we want to teach our kids from a defensive standpoint. And very, we play very violent defensively. We want our kids to be able to play extremely physical and fast when we play on our defense. So, the PowerPoint you have is really kind of a general one, the mentality of what we want to have, with our, how we want to attack quarterbacks and running backs. In this particular session, we're going to talk about pressuring teams. And so with that being said, we're going to move on pre-snap each week regardless. So day one in the summer, when we get our teams together, we're going to move our defensive line and our linebackers are constantly going to be stemming and rattling as we do present different fronts and a variety of looks with coverages and fronts with our defense to gain an advantage. Not any different than an offense that might shift its formation, but we're looking for advantages any way we can get them. And so for us, if we're able to change our look, and we'll get to the video shortly, but if we're able to change our looks within our system, and like I said, it's something that's built in day one. So our base defense, we're going to be a 5-0-5 front, but our nose can play anywhere from A gap to A gap based on a certain call. But he's a true 2-gap 0 technique. And our 5 techniques will play, they'll jump down to 3s occasionally, and they'll also be what we call a jet technique, which is just a speed rush. So they could show any 3 of those looks as well on any given snap. Most of the time, we're going to end up in our base. But again, the 20% of the time that we may be in a different front or we're pressuring, it puts the offensive lineman a little bit on their heels and the quarterback, hopefully, with the coverages, so that they never know what we're truly in. And with the RPOs that we face, we don't want to be able to just kind of let them tee off on any particular player, or as well as in this clinic, we're talking about pressure. So we don't want them to know exactly where we're at or where we might be coming from. And the truth of the matter is, and anybody that plays us know that we don't really bring a lot of pressure. But we try to bring pressure specific to what a protection would be. So, the first thing we have to do is we have to identify the pass protection and use our pressures that will best attack that pass protection. And that's what we're going to focus on in this. Certainly in our defense, and if you talk to anybody, and if you run a 3-3, there's a number of pressures that you can run. And there's a lot of great ones out there. But like I said, the more pressures that you add, it's no different than adding offensive plays to your playbook. It's going to, create a little bit of confusion with your players, and we want them to play fast. So, the pressures that we'll use any given week will be based on the protection that we would see. And so it's breaking down that as a priority. What we would do if we talk about our pass rush, we starts with the D-line. Some of the things that our focus is on our defensive line being able to pressure, because we have 3 down linemen. But understand that we will substitute a more skilled athlete in a pass pressure situation. And we start in the summertime trying to teach those kids. We'll take all our best athletes. Could be a 6'5", 200-pound receiver, or even a smaller one than that, or a running back, or somebody that has just really good explosiveness that you wouldn't necessarily see on a defensive line, or you wouldn't think to put on a defensive line. But all summer long, you teach them how to run the circle and teach them how to get off the ball and how to use their bodies in an athletic way, because they're athletes anyway. I think about some of the kids that we've used that have been tight ends or receivers that are able to move their body a lot better than some of the D linemen that we have. And they can't be every down defensive linemen, but they can present an issue, present a problem to the offense, trying to block a longer, more athletic defensive pass rusher. So we'll use that, and some of the things that we focus on, is first and foremost the speed and getting off the ball. And there's a number of things that you can do to work those drills. Obviously, our D-line coach will work get-offs every single day. And like I already talked about, we're going to stem and set up stunts and blitzes. If you can't get to the quarterback, we talk about hands up in a passing lane. Also, with the many looks, people think that we bring a lot of pressure. So on third downs or second and long, we get a lot of screens. So part of our block recognition for our defensive linemen is to be able to, when we get a pass set and then a release, is to get our kids to retrace their steps so that they can defend the screen. We do say in a screen situation, if you get through clean and you don't see another defensive player in front of you, you attack the quarterback. We certainly don't want everybody to fall back on the screen and find where the screen's coming from. But if you see somebody ahead of you in the pass rush, go ahead and fall back. But if there's nobody ahead of you, just like you're running a race and you're trying to get to the finish line, we want to get home on that quarterback. So if there's nobody else there, we want to try to get a shot in and pressure that quarterback's throw one way or the other. So that's a common rule for us when we're talking about the pass rush. Opportunities to be perfect off-season workouts. Okay, we do the tennis ball drop. The coach would be standing there with a tennis ball above his head and drop the tennis ball, and our kids could be in a three-point stance. They could be on their stomachs. They can be in a sprinter stance. However, you can work it in any different way and have them competing. Coach holds up two tennis balls, and when you drop it, they take off just like ball movement. And then they're trying to get the ball before it bounces a second time. And you kind of have to figure out how far you want to be back away from the kids. But anything that's going to get them to work on their twitch and being able to work on their quickness. Obviously, we're in the weight room all off season and throughout the season. So we're building those muscles, but also we want to do drills that are going to, be specific to being able to pressure the quarterback. So when we do those with our regular defensive linemen. It's nice to have a defensive lineman. It's an every down kid. That's a great pass rusher, but unfortunately we don't always have, that type of kid. So we will use, like I said, a long receiver or a running back or somebody else that's an athlete. Same thing with the linebackers. We tend not to use a linebacker and pressure the quarterback if one is better than the other, if that makes sense. Just because I call a linebacker to blitz doesn't, I want to use my most effective pass rushers. And with all our movement and our pre-snap movement, nobody really knows who's coming and who's not going as well. So, we want to work on, we're going to walk through, our various pressures. And again, to be honest with you, there's probably about 4 or 5 pressures we use total. And like I said, it's going to be based on the protections that we would see. But, we're in pre-practice, we're going to work on things. We're going to work on our stunts, one-on-one sessions with the O-lineman. We'll go ones versus ones on blitz pickup. When we do 7-on-7 sessions during the season, we'll actually make it 11-on-11 and make it just a pass session and have our defensive linemen live in the pass rush or our linebackers so that we're working on our pressures in 7-on-7. And we'll just let the quarterback throw the ball, take a knee if you get there or run by him. But don't stop him from being able to, so that the back 7 or 8 guys can get their work in the passing game as well. So that's our base defense right there. We're going to be a 5-0-5 front. And in this session, I'm not going to really get into detail about everything, but just so you get an idea of what we would look like. And on any given play, if they were to pass the ball, we're obviously dropping 8 guys. And so our 3 front guys, we want them to get pressure. And a lot of people ask about the nose because people that are 4-man fronts are used to those 4 lanes of pressure. And we feel the same way, about that. But I think the importance is to understand that the nose is going to push into the center. And when he reads pass, he's just going to continue to take the center back. And then if the quarterback were to take a pick one side or the other, then the nose would then come off and pressure. our middle linebacker sits back on just a regular standard drop and we have no games going, our middle linebacker will actually just eye the quarterback. And if the quarterback flinches or pulls the ball down or looks to be in some kind of trouble, then our middle linebacker will run any available window and pressure the quarterback as well. And what it really starts to look like is a delayed blitz, but he's just going to be on the quarterback as soon as there looks to be any kind of trouble at all to end the play. Our defensive calls are pretty simple. We would number our linebackers. We would number our linebackers. This guy right here would be number 1, our strong outside backer. This guy's number 2. This guy's number 3, our middle linebacker. Weak linebacker would be 4, and then this guy's 5, and it's always going to be that guy. As opposed to calling them by their names or anything long, we could just say we could call 15 blitz would be the 1 and the 5. We could call, you'll see a 3A open blitz where we blitz a middle linebacker through an A gap. But basically, that's how we're going to number our linebackers and just make it simple for our kids in our calls as we go. So you may see something like our 4, dark side call will be our base defense with a 4. Line call knife tells the knife calls for our defensive end. In our knife call, our defensive end is going to come upfield 2 steps to get the tackle to engage or to begin his vertical set in the pass protection, and then come back underneath him would be any kind of knife call that you would see. And we'll get into these when we get into the film. And this PowerPoint will be available for you guys too as well at the end of the session. You guys certainly can email me after today, and I'll send you whatever you guys would want. But you'll see here where we're numbering our linebackers for our calls. And again, you can definitely get as detailed as you like. There's all kinds of fancy things that you can do with these guys, but we tend to keep it simple. We certainly don't bring these outside guys very much as we need them in the pass protection or need them in the pass defense. But we'll bring any number of these inside backers at any given time as well. So to get into some things, when we see an offense, it's going to full slide and insert their back on the edge. We will look to attack that running back, where general feel is that the weakest pass protector is the running back on any offense. So that's something that we would do. We look to 2-on-1 the running back, if that makes sense. A lot of times when you just call a pressure and you're getting a team that's going to full slide, there's not a whole lot of seams on the inside. Maybe you have some kind of gap blitz that you're trying to run, and they do a good job of just full sliding and taking that away, and their tackle does a good job of attacking or blocking the most outside attack. So what we want to do is we want to bring pressure to the running back in a full slide situation. And, we can do that with our defensive end and keeping him outside, and then bringing an inside backer off the edge, and then 2-on-1 in the running back. And I'll show you in video what that would look like. Same thing with a half slide where the running back would insert perhaps into B gap. So they would slide from their guard over, and then they would have their tackle big on big with our 5 technique. We're going to try to run. So we would jet our defensive ends, and then we'd bring a linebacker 1-on-1 with the running back into that B gap. But also with that, we're setting that up by showing blitz with the other linebacker. So always giving them something that perhaps they think might be more of an illusion, and then bringing a linebacker that may not be shown perhaps as well. And then sometimes because we're not front, we'll get a double read by out of both guards, and they'll try to base block their center with our nose and their tackles with their tackles and blocking our 5s. And the guards will double read linebackers and then either kick out or pick up protection, anything that would be coming off of the edge. So with our movement, it helps out a lot. And these are the pressures that these are all our pressures, to be honest with you. And so these are the ones that would go with each one of these protections. Now, if you're not comfortable, or, a lot of times the defense, or a lot of coaches in general aren't comfortable with something, and they, because you're afraid to admit that you're not sure about how to do something, you should refer to your offensive line coach about what protection you might be facing as you're watching the video. And if your offensive line coach isn't familiar with it, then perhaps he needs to be fired. And then you find somebody else that knows what pass protections. But ask other guys. You know, I spend all off season asking guys, you know, how they pass protect and what it looks like. And I've spent years trying to figure out exactly what teams are trying to do, not just, you know, running plays, but what their protections are. And generally, high school teams don't have a variety of protections. And, you know, in fact, a lot of high schools will just slide one way, or, you know, maybe you slide both ways, but some will just slide one particular way, maybe the blind side of the quarterback and such. So on an edge blitz, we talk about this here, where the running back would be inserting, where the running back would be inserting on the edge here. So if this running back were to be blocking off of the edge, we're going to get this defensive lineman here out in a wide speed rush, and then we've got this linebacker here that's going to be coming off the edge. And he's probably going to be showing over number 2 in this scenario, and then kind of working his way in here. And as you see, I got my middle linebacker in B gap up on the line of scrimmage, and then I got my weak side guy up in B gap, and they're just going to bail to whatever zone responsibilities they have. And we, in our passing defense, we're going to drop to receiver. So this guy would drop and read number 2 and see what number 2 is going to do. And if 2 is going out, then he would pick up a new number 2 that might be coming in. But again, these guys are just giving the illusion that they're coming. And then what we're actually going to end up doing is we're going to bring that nose opposite, gives us good 4 lanes of pressure. And then the game that we're playing up here is we're going to 2-on-1 that running back, because the line is basically going to be sliding, you know, in that direction. And so with that, we want our middle linebacker to stay on the snap of the ball so that the tackle looks to engage him and then bail back. And then we want a 2-on-1 with this running back, and our tackle's going to speed rush up the field. And when he sees daylight, he's going to come back underneath that running back to get to the quarterback. And this would be our edge blitzer that would have contain if the quarterback were to flush. In a situation where we may get a running back that would insert into B gap, and the tackle would block big on big here, we would do a similar thing where we would bring the same edge blitz, and then we 2-on-1 the tackle. So what we want to do on that is our speed rush. And again, this guy right here generally is going to be our best pass rusher, you know, and we could, one of these guys could be, you know, and like I said, it could be a receiver that we're bringing in. Just all we got to do is beat one guy in any of these scenarios. But here again, the tackle's going to, our tank, who's our defensive end, is going to come upfield hard a couple steps to get that tackle to vertical set, and then come back underneath that tackle. And then we're bringing our linebacker off the edge. And this allows us, we call it overload. You can tell that it's basically the same as the edge. The difference in pressures are basically our nose is to this A gap side. So then we overload that side, and we're doing it to the back side when he inserts into B gap here. Would require that guard to come down and be occupied by our nose that's penetrating A gap. Again, you got the linebackers up here. They're going to bail on a snap. All right. And all we're trying to do is do more with less. And, you know, in this situation, like I said, our defensive end has the ability to come up the field hard and then back underneath that tackle. Generally gives us good pressure as well. Same situation where the running back might be inserting into B gap here on a slide going in, you know, a slide that's going in this direction. Their guard is going to have to be occupied. He'll be occupied by our nose. And then the game that we're going to run here is we're going to bring our stack linebacker, bring him down into B gap when we feel like our linebacker is going to beat their running back one-on-one, and also when we feel like we can get a one-on-one because their tackle is going to get vertical set, and then we think we can just flat out beat him with our speed and our athletic ability on the edge. So again, we're only bringing 4 guys, able to drop 7 in that scenario. Whenever we can drop 7 or 8 guys, we feel like we're very good against the pass, and our pressures can get home. And a big thing about it is working specifically on our pass rush, we don't do a whole lot of pass rush moves. We're really trying to get our arm under. We're trying to get our hips turned. And our defensive line coach does an amazing job of getting our kids to get there. And like I said, we'll try a number of different guys at those positions as well. Athletic guys out on the edge. Here you're going to see just a jet nom. Now the nom basically is the nom is the nuke and the mallet. So the N and the M basically, right? And jet says our defensive ends are going to jet. So that means they're going to be out in a wide speed rush. They're going to be out in a wide speed rush, rushing the edge. And then our nuke and our mallet, that's our nose and our middle linebacker, are going to blitz the A gaps. We do this a lot, and you'll see our stacks are in here showing, and they're going to bail. We'll do this a lot so that, and when I say they're going to bail, I would like those guys to be there on the snap of the ball and then get out so that the offensive lineman will commit to those linebackers that are up, which would then allow us to do a 2-on-1 with the nose, with the center rather. So we get we get this double A gap blitz here, pressure right up the gut, and hopefully we get to flush the quarterback out to one of these speed rushers out on the edge. And again, we're trying to do more with less. Another 4-man pressure. This guy right here is probably our best pressure. It's actually a 2-man pressure. And with this, and you'll see, like I said, we're starting with our linebackers all lined up here. Showing blitz, we take our very best pass rusher, put him out here in a speed rush. Then the opposite A gap, we're going to jump our 5. We're going to move him on a pre-snap down to a 3 technique. We're going to get him to hit into the guard, outside shoulder of the guard, and we're going to get our nose to hit into this shoulder. And really what they're going to do is they're going to grab that top of that shoulder pad just for a split second and open up that gap for our middle linebacker to run through there. So we get pressure by the middle right here. And then we got pressure off the edge. So it's a 2-man pressure. After our nose grabs that center and kind of twists them in this direction, our nose is going to fall off, and then he's going to sit back here for any possible screen, but he's also looking for quarterback flush. And then our defensive end, after he hits into this guard and opens it up, he's going to bail back out here wide and just be a soft contained player if the quarterback were to flush that way instead of getting upfield. We're just getting upfield hard with 2 guys, and then we have a guy that's here, and then we have a guy that's here just in case for quarterback flush one way or the other. And we're really coming hard with our middle linebacker and our best pass rusher off the edge there. This is as exotic as we will ever be. This is something that's pretty rare for us. It's still just going to be a 4-man pressure, but we're going to just basically 2-on-1 this guard with the linebackers and just kind of an X blitz, bring our speed rushers off the edge. They're going to get good width, and they're going to come off the edge, and our linebacker will bail, and our nose will actually bail back to a depth of about 5 yards and look for any kind of screen or anything that's crossing in the middle. And really, ultimately, he's kind of spying the quarterback. If the quarterback gets into trouble and flushes, we'd imagine he's going to flush in this direction with that X blitz. And that's my my email. If you guys want to put that down, I'll give you a second to write that down. I'm going to go into the video and go through these pressures that we just talked about.
All right, Coach, we're looking at 5 minutes, if you could, please.
Okay, so here's the edge blitz here, guys. So what we're looking at here is, again, you got 3 guys showing here. This guy's going to bail back. And we got this guy that's going to be the edge rusher. And then this DN is going to come upfield, and then you're going to see him work back. And as he works back, go on to snap the ball, and I'll slow it down. As he works back, we tell him he can go all the way back into A gap if he gets any kind of window. And you're going to see him push. We've got our edge pressure here, and he's going to come back all the way underneath and get to the quarterback in that situation. So again, we are going to drive upfield and then come back into A gap and pressure the quarterback. So this is what our edge blitz would kind of look like. To show you another look here of our edge blitz here. Against a team that, against, we'd call this trips near, a team that might sprint out quite a bit. You're going to see my linebacker out here showing. Number 3, he's going to come off the edge, and then our defensive end going to come upfield, and you see he makes an inside move pretty early. But again, sprint out protection. We're going to bring our best blitz and linebacker on the edge to make the quarterback pull up and not be able to get outside of the pocket on that edge blitz. Okay, I want to show you guys our open. And again, on our open blitz, all right, on our open blitz, you're going to see, I'll let you see a little bit of the pre-snap movement of what we look like defensively. And you see our defense is going to communicate, and I'll show you from the end zone, you'll get a better look. But basically what we're doing here, this is a 2-man pressure, all right? This is our best pass rusher. And then our middle linebacker is going to go right through this A gap. Linebackers bail a little bit too soon, like them to stay there a little bit. Again, we got our middle linebacker that flushes the quarterback. He actually makes the play. And 21 actually should stay in this particular pressure. 21 should stay outside leverage, as we're assuming that we're going to get that A gap pressure with our middle linebacker. So from the end zone, you'll get a really clean look of what it looks like. Now, these guys have already moved. This is coming late, but this guy's moved down from the 5 technique. Again, they're moving on every pre-snap. But you're going to see right here, we're going to get a little bit of a grab here. We're going to get a little bit of a grab here, guys. Right there is a clean look at it. All right. And then they should break off, and then we would like our nose to drop back and spy and just get a 2-man pressure there on our open. Again, I'll let it run this time. Our jet non-blitz is the scheme where we run with our nose and our middle linebacker. And here we're trying to get their guards are kicking out, trying to get a double A gap blitz by our nose and our center, and speed rush by the outside guys. Gives you 4 lanes of pressure on the quarterback. Here's another one. You should see good pre-snap movement. Linebacker should be up and showing. And again, we're just going to go 2-on-1 with the center. Center didn't block anybody. It's always a good thing in that particular play. And then our edge pressure as well. And then I know I've got about a minute left here, but I'm going to go do our overload blitz. You see the overload blitz coming from up top. And like I said, that's just our, just like I drew it up, what we're trying to do there. The last one I want to show you here is our X blitz. Also, I'll send you these clips as well, guys, from the huddle. Just let me know who you want me to send them to. This is about as exotic as we'll ever be. This is going to be our X blitz. So what's going to happen here, right, is we want our nose to go opposite of the X. So he occupies the center and guard that way. We want to speed rush here. And then we're going to go A gap with that first linebacker through. And then this guy's coming right off his rear end into the B gap. Timing of it's important. Able to get clean there. That's our X-blitz. You see our nose backs off. If you watch our nose, he's going to back off and spy the quarterback here for any kind of quarterback flush. I think that's going to wrap up this first one. Is there a Q&A right now? Or is that at the end?
All right, Coach, you all finished up?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Thanks, everyone who watched this. We're going to be moving into a quick 5-minute break. So I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and take this opportunity to use the live chat, talk with each other, and we'll be right back. Thanks. All right. Thanks for waiting, coaches. Chad Hetlet's going to be moving right into his second session, which is titled Defending Gun Run. Chad, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
All right, guys, we'll go right into it with the gun run. Again, these sessions are.
Coach, real fast, if you could make sure your screen share is working.
You got it?
I got it, Coach. Thanks. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Guys, we'll get into it again. These are tough to get everything that we need to, but it's just kind of get your minds working a little bit about what the topic is going to be. Defending gun run is obviously extremely broad, but I'll kind of give the nuts and bolts of what how we go into a game plan situation where we're going to defend a team that's shotgun. And honestly, we see it just about every week now. Very rarely do we see a team under center. So, for us defending the gun run, it's going to be something that we have to think about the quarterback as a plausible running threat. But for us, the four major keys to attacking the gun run for what we do in our defense. And again, it's not specific necessarily to our 3-3. It's just specific, I think, to the defending shotgun run teams as well. But alignment to a common spread formation, we have to make sure that we are aligned with our base front is a 5-0-5, but some tendencies in the with teams that you're going to play are going to give you an opportunity to change, adjust your front. We'd prefer not to change our front a whole lot just because of the run fits. But our kids have to be aware of what our run fits would need to be in a specific situation. We'll talk about that. It's important to know what their top 5 run plays are, regardless if it's a shotgun team or if it's under center. We're very specific as teaching our kids how to fit. We don't want to change our run fits based on a different team each week and have a flavor of the week defense. So we want to make sure our kids understand how we're going to fit their top 5 run plays, whether outside or inside run. It's also important to know who is most dangerous. With the shotgun, you get a lot of quarterback run threats, and you have to be able to account for them. And, we want to work from most dangerous back. So, for example, if you're playing a team that has a quarterback that is most dangerous, then you have to make sure that you run fit. And a lot of times we're just going to account with the quarterback run with one guy. We've played some really special athletes that really forced us to commit 2 guys to the quarterback because he was going to make one guy miss. And we had to make sure we had another guy on him. So for us, our 4 major keys, again, making sure we're getting aligned right. What are their top 5 run plays? Who's most dangerous and how we're going to account for the quarterback run. All right. And I've got some generic run plays that we'll kind of go through, and I'll show you on video a little bit more. I'll try to get to the video a little bit sooner. But without getting too in depth with everything, our kids are taught inside and outside run fits. We call them lanes. So here we're just looking at a standard zone read play against our base defense. And if you'll notice, if you'll notice here, when we first thing that we need to make sure, you'll see it says right here, the DN that's away from the quarterback will squeeze down the block here. He's going to squeeze, hand on the hip and the other hand on the center of the chest so that this tackle doesn't climb to our linebacker. But his eyes are going to be on the quarterback. He has to cross read, right? The quarterback is opposite of him. If we're playing a team that's a zone read team, we got to make sure that we account for him. All right. And if we've moved our defensive end down to a 3 technique, or maybe we're knifing our defensive end into the B gap because they're having success with their inside run game, Then our stack linebacker that's opposite the quarterback would then be responsible for the quarterback. So if our DN were playing some kind of game inside, our stack linebacker would then be accountable for the quarterback out of the back door in a typical zone read play. So when we talk about shotgun run, the first thing our kids are going to say, we got to cross read, guys, we got to cross read. And we're cross reading that quarterback. The same play is kind of drawn up here. Well, we have to account for the quarterback here now in our base defense. And we're not too much of a threat at quarterback. Our DN will be fine there. You know, with the inside run fit game, I'll show you on video what we've kind of gone to with teams that run inside zone. And really what we've done is we've started to pinch our defensive ends against teams that run inside zone with some success. We've been undersized for the last 4 or 5 years on the defensive line. And when we're undersized, then we have to do some things. And it gets a team that runs the inside zone well. What we'll do is we'll put our nose in the A gap opposite of the running back, and we'll get him to penetrate into A gap to force that inside zone back into this A gap. And like I said, there's a good likelihood that we're going to pinch our defensive ends down into B gap. And our middle linebacker then would be accountable for the ball carrier back in this A gap here. And we're forcing it back to that A gap with this nose. Again, when we get into video, you guys will see it a lot clearer. But it always have to have somebody responsible for that quarterback out of the back door. We just call this kind of a dart scheme. It could be the guard or the tackle polling. You know, and same thing. We have to worry about the quarterback out of the back door with this tackle pole. So this DN is not going to chase the tackle pole. The DN is going to sit on the line of scrimmage and read the quarterback. If we know that that's going to be the read guy, everybody else is going to fit the run. In this particular case, our linebackers read open and close windows. So with the guard coming down here and a tackle turning out, our stack linebacker would run this open window and attack the play. Shouldn't be any hesitation. Middle linebacker will read, double team on the nose and attack this guard, the line of scrimmage as well. But this DN backside here has got to account for the quarterback in this particular play when that tackle is polling, so we're accountable. So making sure that the quarterback is always going to be accountable. Okay, this is the same play, just kind of drawn up here. Same idea here. You got counter tray with guard tackle pole. And again, we don't want our defensive end to fly up the field. We want him to be able to sit, read the quarterback. I'll show you some video when we were playing a team that had a quarterback that was going to beat our one defensive end. So in that situation, both these guys would really have to have their eyes on the quarterback coming out of the back door on this read play. Another thing that we'll do against a team that, you know, the other thing too is to check out the depth of the running back is a key. You know, a lot of times when the back is going to be even with the quarterback, they'll run a power read play or they'll run something that's going to be more of a laterally hitting play. When the back is a little bit deeper, they'll tend to run their downhill run plays, whether they're a zone team. And in this particular drawing, it's a counter tray team. And in that, like I said, in that situation, we got to make sure that we account for the quarterback and we're able to run fit it. You know, and although this is not an RPO session, with the birth of these RPO teams, it's really changed on how hard our safety can actually play the run. So in here, you'll see him coming downhill, and it's kind of a split flow play with the quarterback. So he has to play it slow. But with RPOs, basically now our outside linebackers have to play perimeter pass first and really have no responsibility inside of setting the edge in the run game. Because they have responsibilities out here, like I said, with the RPOs, defending the perimeter game out here with these two guys in this case. And like I said, so what we're trying to do is just fit the run. We'll see it better on the video. Jet sweep will be another play that we talk about. Just because it hits so fast out on the edge, a lot of times you have to have it. For us, this would be an outside hitting play, no different than a bubble pass or something that's quick on the perimeter. Jet sweep is something that we as a defense are going to have to do something. And what we'll do against teams that run jet sweep is we'll bring our stack linebacker and we'll bring him off of the edge automatically to try to stop the jet sweep. And we'll bring our nose and our backside defensive end and we'll slant them hard. And generally, if you get that power read play, we're going to keep this 5 technique right here. He's going to stay solid with the 5 so that he can stay attached to that tackle so that he can't climb. And then he would be the read guy in a power read with this jet motion coming. And what we're trying to do is then attack the jet sweep with this stack linebacker. And then the quarterback would get a give read with the tackle showing, or with our defensive end squeezing a tackle and showing that he's there. The quarterback would give. And we're funneling the run really to that jet sweep. We want them to give on the jet sweep. But we're in a great position for the power read as well. I'm going to get into the videos because I just feel like, when you talk about it, you can see it live on the video and allows you to kind of get a better feel. So defending the gun run here. We're going to move our front based on the alignment. Like I said, particularly, against this team, we had specific calls to what our front is going to be, but you're going to see here our base. You're going to see our base defense, or what would look like our base defense. But in the end zone, you're going to see that we're trying to funnel this zone play to our middle linebacker back to that A gap, okay? And then, again, these guys on the backside, if he's coming down inside, then our backside stack would be responsible for the quarterback. You can see it from the end zone. So you see us move late. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to force that inside zone into this A gap. We want to penetrate here, and actually we end up penetrating too far up the field. We only want to get a couple steps up the field to make this kid redirect and turn it into the zone cutback here into this A gap so that our middle linebacker here can fit that play. But again, when we've moved our backside defensive end, when we moved him out of that 5 tech, he cannot be responsible for the quarterback. So the stack that's not in the picture, you'll see this stack right here is then going to be responsible for the quarterback. So right now, what we're trying to do is to get upfield and turn that play back into our middle linebacker. And the middle linebacker does a good job. We keep him clean. You'll see number 10 up here engage this tackle and keep him off our linebackers. And nose is penetrating. Middle linebacker should tackle the zone. And then backside 51's here is, again, look at the quarterback's eyes on the handoff right here. Quarterback is reading that edge player. He knows that's a give, right? He knows there's somebody sitting out there. There's no keep ability for that guy. Here where you're going to see us in our base defense, and now they're going to motion a guy. He'll end up being like a sniffer type kid. And with that, we're going to have an automatic call. And I'll tell you, just about all of our defenses are automatic calls. I'm not making these calls. It's based on formations and their tendencies is what they like to do. And again, their top 5 list. So in this particular play right now, you see the guard pull. Well, we had the tendency on these guys that there's going to be guard pull. So in that case, we're going to reduce our front and put this kid over the guard. Okay, and this guy's going to go into the opposite A gap. And now that leaves this linebacker that's back away from the quarterback. It leaves him for the quarterback responsibility. So sniffer's motion into the backfield. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this guy now in the hip pocket of that pulling guard. So he's in a good position. You'll see my stack linebacker here that's responsible for the quarterback out of the back door. And then he's going to end up pursuing the play as well. You see it from the end zone. So our movement is because they have movement. So now we're going to adjust our front. Okay, A gap, 3 technique. See, we're pinching down inside here. So we're going to get 2-on-1 here. That's great. Keeping our linebackers clean is what we're trying to do, guys. and then bring that defensive end down inside here to penetrate with a pulling guard. And then number 6 here is got quarterback. Now, obviously, this play could have gone another way where the quarterback may have possibly read this 51, but we keep 51 and 6. You see how we keep them clean. They can account for quarterback or any kind of spill, like this play ends up spilling. And we have that overhang that comes in late as well. Similar play, right? Similar play. And here we've moved our fronts, so we've reduced down in this direction. And like, again, 51 is going to be responsible for that quarterback out of the back door. I don't want him playing a guessing game either. See, 51's not sure, but his number one responsibility is this kid. Quarterback did a good job of pulling it out. My guy's accountable for him right now. And then inside, we're going to run fit their run. And you'll see it from the end zone. What my linebacker is going to get here, again, everything we do is open and close windows based on our scheme. So they're coming down to our nose. It's in that A gap. We're trying to get 2-on-1, as many 2-on-1s as we can get. That's a great situation for us. It's going to keep it's going to keep our inside linebackers clean. 6 is late to trigger here. Okay. But I like that he's coming under and that he's spilling the play on the open window. And then again, we got an overhang in this situation that can clean the play up. And 51, right? 51 here has got quarterback out of the back door. So our run fits are good there. And we get beat up a little bit up front here. But I like that our nose is taking on 2. But their guard does get off. That's not a good thing for us. We want 99. When he's got guard pressure, what we teach our nose, whether he's a 0 or he's in the A gap, when he gets guard coming down on him, our D-line coach teaches him then to take the fight into that guard. But he should have took the fight into this guy's outside shoulder and not allowed him to climb to our undersized linebacker. Because on this run fit, my middle linebacker should, because this stack linebacker spills the play, our middle linebacker should actually fit all the way out here. And he gets caught up by this guard. If our nose did a better job, he'd have come clean. All right, guys, you're going to see a counter tray down here. So you're going to get a down block. You're going to get a down block. So a little bit of movement here. First game of the season, so we're not great at it. But we're going to get a down block, and we're going to stay connected with our defensive end. He's going to put his hand on that hip, and he's going to keep this guy off of the linebackers. And you're going to get guard, tackle, pull, which would bring our linebackers reading through the guards to the play. So number 10 here does a good job of squeezing, keeping that guy clean. Linebacker scrapes, right? He's got a closed window, so he's not running it. He's now going to scrape. And they bypass our defensive end who gets lost because he's squeezing down on that tackle. They just go right by that guy, and we fit the run that way. All right, here we're going to get a jet sweep. And remember, our automatic trigger to any kind of team that would run jet sweep or power read with the jet sweep, we want to blitz this kid. Now, he's late on his blitz, and he doesn't do a good job of containing this jet sweep. That's what we want him to do in this situation, is we want him to contain this play in the jet sweep. But he does a kind of a poor job. This is my outside backer. We just have him rolled up on number 1. We're actually playing Tampa 2 coverage behind it. So this free safety is free. And our corner is going to be back, and they're going to be hash safeties. outside backers run number one. But the beauty of this scheme is that my best football player is this kid right here. And everything we're trying to do is to keep him clean. Now, on this power read play, our defensive end's engaged. So this should be a give for the quarterback, reading 10 that's here clean. This guy needs to do a better job. One, his timing is bad. And two, he needs to, once he gets inside here, if he were to feel this guy coming down and cracking him, I would be okay with him going outside and containing this jet sweep play, my inside backer, or just taking his outside arm and ripping underneath 7 and containing a play. Either way, he needs to be there to stop the jet sweep. He's not. He misses it. But again, our middle linebacker, who's our best football player, is clean. And then our free safety in this particular coverage he's free to attack the play as well in Tampa 2. And again, all the kid, I'm not guessing. I'm not making these great calls. Our defensive stats are staggering, and it's because of what our kids are able to do and make automatic calls. Now, I'm going to tell you what you're going to see here is you're going to see the running back offset right now. When you see that running back offset, you're going to watch this 5 technique, what he does when the running back decides where he's going to be at. All right, you see that? Now, he's done that because their tendency in this game was, we would call this trips far because the back is away from the trips. Their tendency in this game was to either run power read to the trips or run counter tray. And that's all they were running in this formation. So in that particular case, we wanted to move our 5 down to a 3 technique, move our nose over into A gap. And what makes that team have to do, now this is the first play, I think this is early in the game and in the series. So their center doesn't realize that we've moved down to a 3 technique, and he doesn't block back on this particular play. And we're going to be able to get penetration and stop the play. But as that's happening, remember now, if I'm moving my 5 technique down to a 3, or if he was knifing into B gap, my stack linebacker would now be accountable, right? Because he has to cross read the quarterback. He would be accountable for the quarterback on a keep, right? See this guy's going to be accountable for the quarterback run. So the center doesn't block back, but if the center were to block back and block our guy, their guard would have to stop our penetrating nose. Our nose that's in A gap, he's going to have to block down. And then I want you to watch what happens with our undersized defensive end on their Division I offensive tackle. I want you to see how we displace him right there. And we've now condensed their offensive linemen, all 5 of these cats. We've condensed them, and we've kept our best defensive players are all unblocked. So our middle linebacker, you see he's reading guard pull. So our middle linebacker is going to go to now it could be guard pull with a window and B gap, but this is not. This is a down scheme, right? So on the down scheme, our middle linebacker is going to fit just outside of that D end. And again, it's based on tendencies. Now, I spent a number of years calling defenses, and I was wrong an awful lot because it's a guessing game. So there's no point in guessing when you can take the guessing out and you can gain advantage by moving your front to a particular formation where you can gain advantage by putting your kids. And again, what we're trying to do always is we're always trying to do more with less, and we're always trying to keep our linebackers clean. All right. In this particular case, you're going to see a zone read play. These guys are really big and well coached up front, and they are going to manhandle us. So we cannot just stay in our 5-0-5. They'd gash us. So we're going to knife our DNs in and try to funnel this run to our middle linebacker. But remember, now this is a Big Ten kid right here. This quarterback, he's a Big Ten kid, and we have to account for him as well. We didn't want to sit and wait.
5-minute warning.
Thank you. So you're going to see, because we're pinching our DNs inside, our stack linebacker, this kid right here, he's responsible for the quarterback. does a great job of making that play. But the other thing that really is good is watch the inside move by this defensive end on the tackle. You see, he comes underneath and he gets himself squared right back up, but he can make the play if it were to be a give. Now, we're not right all the time, but the fact that our kids, we stress the fact that we're going to be a great fundamental team, tackling and running to the ball. Like you could see this mismatch right here. Like this isn't good because he's just going to be a better football player than the guys that we have. So we have to make sure that we pick up on any advantage that we possibly can. On this play here, you're going to see jet sweep. All right. So you're going to get a jet back coming in motion. And now that should trigger my stack linebacker. Let's see where's my stack. All right. He's out here. So he's displaced because the ball's on the hash. He's displaced a little bit. He's also displaced because of the formation tendency on this. Now, what they were doing on this play was the quarterback was actually they weren't running power read. The quarterback was going to keep it out of the back door. So what we're doing here is we were going to bring this guy automatically because the quarterback was a special player. And so when that guy triggered in motion, we were going to bring that guy off of the backside edge straight to the quarterback. Okay. And then on the front side, we were going to blitz this kid to keep our outside linebacker free. This guy, want to keep him free. Bring our stack linebacker. All right. And we're going to slant our nose into A gap. We're going to bring this defensive end into B gap. So we're reducing our front on the move. Going to reduce our front on the move. And then our stack linebacker does a great job of making that play turn up. When you can make that jet sweep turn up and not get to the hash number sidelines, we're going to be a lot better. And then, again, we're trying to make everything go to this kid right here. He's my best football player. He doesn't look like he's much there, but I'm telling you, he's a super tough kid. And he's our best player because he runs to the ball and tackles better than anybody else in our program. And that's why he's our middle linebacker. And, yeah, he's only 170 pounds. But you know what? He's a tough 170 pounds. So I don't need a 220-pound linebacker. I need a guy that's going to run to the ball well and it's going to tackle well. So in our scheme here, we kept him clean. We also kept our outside linebacker clean because our stack is blitzing off the edge right there. He took out the lead runner or the lead back. This guy's clean. Now, I want you to watch what's happening with their Division I tackle here. And our kid that doesn't play college football. Probably about 80-pound difference here. And ask yourself on this defensive end, does my kid win the game? Does my kid win the battle? And I'm going to tell you, now you're going to get a good, clean look right there of us getting manhandled. All right. But do you realize that we're fighting right down the line of scrimmage and we have not given that up? This is a lateral run play. So, yeah, I'd like him to put his foot in the ground, put his kickstand up, our coach would call it. But he's doing just fine because what he's doing is he's keeping the tackle off anybody. And actually our D end is in a position where he's poking his head out. So the way we defeat a reach block is just get our head outside that tackle. And he's still in a good position. Now he's going to get mauled here. Probably don't see it, but it's like Michael Orr on the blind side, man. He probably took our guy all the way into the stands. You know what I mean? But the reality of it is we're in a pretty good position because everybody else is doing their job of making the plays. And if the quarterback were to keep it out of the back door, we have that guy off the edge to make sure the quarterback doesn't do that. So we're trying to do more with less in that situation. Now you're going to get a good look at our middle linebacker and watch him because his key is going to be guard to guard. And he's going to read this triangle. And basically what that means is our middle linebacker, all he does is attack guards. He's going to attack guards on the snap of the ball based on what he feels. And watch how fast he triggers. This guard's going to pull. Watch how fast this middle linebacker triggers on guard pull. And again, he's going to work this every day. So we get that middle linebacker reading that triangle and he reads guard down. I'd like him to take on this guard right here with his outside shoulder. Again, watch the backside defensive end. He's got pull, but he's not chasing the pull. He's going to sit and read quarterback. Great job. That's a give. We're going to run fit it with the other kids. Again, it gets into our just daily drill work. These guys are going to read open and close windows. This kid is going to read all this that's going on right here. And it's not as hard as you think. If he knows he's only attacking guards, he's always going to be running downhill to attack a guard. Now, if he got a guard that was going to pull like that, then this kid would replace that guard and just chase the ball down the line of scrimmage. All right. That should do it for that one.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much. Coach is watching. We'll be moving into a quick 5-minute break. Quick reminder, use the live chat. Any questions you've got, chat Hetlet's here to talk, and you've got the rest of your coaches as well. We'll be right back. All right, coaches. Thank you for waiting. We're going to be moving straight into our third session with Chad Hetlet, which is titled Pass Coverages in the 3-3. Coach, you there? All right, Coach, we've got your screen. Go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay, guys, we're going to talk about our coverages. We've been kind of talking about our front a little bit, defending the gun run, how we run fits and things. Again, I realize it's coming at you pretty fast and furious here, but we're just trying to get you a general idea, maybe kind of get your brain working a little bit. If that's something you might like, or something that clicks with you. Maybe it's something that you're already doing or something that you're interested in doing. But again, everything we're going to try to do is put our kids in the best position by moving our front based on formational tendencies. You know, I talked, the first session was about pressure with a purpose. We're going to base our pressures based totally on what the pass protection would be of the team we're playing. Instead of just blindly pressuring people, we want to attack the running back where he might fit or with a weakness in that pass protection. It could be a person, it could be a scheme. And instead of sending 4, 5, or 6 different guys and sending them to where the strength of their protection might be, we talked about attacking where the weaknesses might be in the pass protection. And the last session was about defending the gun run, making sure that you're accounting for the quarterback and that you realize what their top 5 run plays are. And they could just be a zone team, you know, and I'm sure they're a good team. They have the ability to alter their scheme as far as how they're going to block you. So the stuff I'm giving you is somewhat vanilla, and you'll have to make adjustments, but just making sure that your kids understand where they would fit the run and account for the quarterback and the quarterback run. Here we're going to talk about what's going on behind all those guys that are stopping the run and that are pressuring the quarterback. So it's a pretty good tie-in. I will say that we are primarily a soft cover 3 team. We feel best that, you know, again, we're a team that's not really trying to take a lot of chances. We just want to keep everything in front of us and tackle extremely well and run to the ball well and be good fundamentally and not put ourselves in a situation where we're going to give up something cheap because we're trying to bring, too much pressure. Because a lot of guys are like, hey, gosh, we're going to man up and bring a lot of pressure, and maybe that works for them. But for us, we just don't have that kind of kid to be able to do that. And to be honest with you, we like our cover 3. And, with that being said, and you're playing cover 3, you got to make sure you're protecting against any kind of 4-up concepts. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little bit about some of our adjustments to maybe trips. Depends on what kind of time we have. So we'll get right into it with our coverages. And with our coverage, built into it, we want to be really physical with receivers, rerouting and jamming. And that's a priority for us. So when we talk about reroutes and jams, we feel like it's a lost art. We feel like, we want to create the culture with our kids to be extremely physical with receivers and walling them off and getting them off their timing of the routes. So when we do bring 3 guys, or we're only bringing 4 guys on our pressures, the fact that we're disrupting it behind those guys, the quarterback doesn't get that clean shot of a receiver just running clean. So we want to pattern match receivers. You look at some of the best teams. You look at Alabama and Georgia particularly, Kirby Smart and the things that they do as far as pattern match in their zone. We'll be similar to that, just that we're really trying to be physical and end that route as much as possible, bang that receiver as much as we can. And yes, we do get some we'll get defensive holding penalties, and we'll get some pass interference penalties. But it's no different than, an offensive line. Offensive linemen do a lot of holding as well, because offensive guys are pretty much communist guys they're trying to cheat with those RPOs and run those offensive linemen downfield and still throw the ball down the field. So we're going to do some, we're going to be really physical and right on the edge of what's legal and what's not legal with receivers. And so with that comes, some of the penalty flags will come out, but it's like anything. You got to understand that, we're not trying to cheat. We're just trying to be extremely physical. It's just like an offensive lineman that might be, offensive linemen jump off sides because they false start because they're really, triggered and ready to fire off the ball. I mean, you get teams that come off the ball, that you're going to have to eat some of those false start penalties. And the same thing with us. We realize that we're going to get some penalties along the way. That's how it's going to be with our philosophy. So we want to jam receivers, want to be physical on the reroutes, and we want our kids to celebrate those types of things. We feel like, putting a receiver on the ground is just as important as an interception because the mindset, of what he's going to be thinking as well. Obviously, it's important to start with the alignment and the formation pattern tendency, just like in the run game. An offense is going to have a pattern of what they're going to want to do with their routes and what they're trying to do. And, again, top 5, what do they do best? What are their 5 best passing concepts? I also feel like it's really important when you're tagging plays and preparing for a team that you tag the personnel. So we would write let's say number 80. Maybe he moves positions, but it's important to tag who the quarterback targets when you're breaking down a team, because a lot of times you'll see receivers that run certain patterns specifically, and you also find the tendency like, okay, well, here's a route combination they run, but they really only throw these routes, and you can gain an advantage by really just figuring out who they're targeting. So I think the target of the quarterback, the intended receiver, the target, is much more important than the pattern concept itself. As long as you're teaching, your same zone concepts and matching up, it's important to know specifically if there's any kind of alerts or alarms with receivers running, and if they move positions, and those types of things. It's tough for receivers to adjust in pattern read scenarios, so we're not going to drop to a space. And again, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying what we do. We're going to drop to receivers, try to engage them. We want to collision vertical routes, and we want to replace any blitzing linebacker, with another linebacker that would pattern read as that goes. And this last thing here that, communication, right? I think it's important that communication is key, right? The communication is key. And the other thing is be obnoxious when you're communicating. I can't think of a better word to use than obnoxious. We want them to be extremely vocal, and our kids, I feel like, are always on the phones, right? So that their communication skills aren't great. So it's something that we coach up and think it's important for the kids to be obnoxious when they're communicating. Here you're going to look at our base cover 3. Our outside linebackers in our base cover 3 are going to be at 7 yards and just slightly inside leverage of the number 2 receiver. Obviously, the most dangerous thing that can happen would be a 4 vertical concept. So you could get 4 up, you know what I'm saying? Or you could get some kind of vert switch with these guys. But it's most important that the easiest thing for them to do is to throw that inside receiver. So for outside linebackers, we want to make sure at 7 yards, it gives us to be able to, with these guys at 7 yards, it's going to give us the ability to read and just pop our feet and read number 2 here, right? This guy's going to take us to the promised land. And so if number 2 goes out or if number 2 goes in, this guy's going to fly underneath number 1. All right. If 2 is going to press vertically at 7 yards, he's going to be committed to a vertical route. And we call that breaking glass. If this kid is taking off and he's running hard enough to break through, a glass door, then he's going to be running a vertical route. And if that's the case, then we want our outside backer basically just keep his feet alive by popping his feet. And then I want him to collision that receiver that's running a vertical route, but with inside leverage. All right. I don't want him to lunge out at a receiver and let this guy beat us inside where the quarterback might be able to complete that inside route. But we're going to collision it. And the way we coach it up is to get that outside linebacker to, and here we're talking about it here. is to get that outside linebacker basically to take a charge from this receiver. So we'd position him where he would like take a charge in basketball with inside leverage. And then at the last second, we're going to have him coil up and put his, put his face right into the chin of that receiver. Sounds violent, but it's effective. And it's a good coaching point to keep our eyes up. But we want to collision and shoot our hands into that receiver. And I'll show you a video of what that would look like. But again, our focus is be vocal and get hands on that vertical situation and be patient. Don't be running all over the place. That receiver, nothing's going to happen between you and that 7 yards. People get anxious and want to put this guy up tighter to number 2. Nothing's going to happen. You're okay. 7 yards is a good spot. Gives your outside linebacker in space ability to move one way or the other. Again, if we got an inside or an outside move, then we would fire underneath number 1 in our cover 3. And this is how we're going to protect our free safety. All right. So go back to our cover 3 here. We want to protect this guy right here. Our corners are going to be off the ball and inside leverage. They're going to be at 7 to 8 yards. And again, they're going to start up here and they're going to bail back. Their outside linebackers a lot of times show cover 2, and then they'll work down to their 7-yard position. So again, keeping with the theme of always moving our coverage. So we get in the video, you'll see our guys move their coverage. Our cover 2 here, you can definitely do it however you feel like you need to do it. We like to put our outside linebackers rolled up on number 1. And then, this shows a cover 2, our free safety is going to jump over here and be a hash guy. But I'll tell you another way you can do it is this guy can show in our cover 3 a lot of times, we can show a cover 3 and then come down and be in cover 2, have this guy bail back and be a hash safety like you're seeing this linebacker do here. It really depends on your personnel. So what we'd like to do is put our outside backers on number 1s and our corners who are back pedal guys, they're pedal guys, have them be the guys that play hash. And here's mini cover 2. And again, I know this is coming at you fast. I'll slow it back down when I get to the video. Just want to kind of cover what we're going to talk about on the video. But cover 3 is an adjustment that we would make to a trip set. Mini cover 2 would be something that would be an adjustment we'd make to it. So what we're going to do is our corner is going to man up their outside receiver in trips. All right. And then our outside linebacker and everybody else that's on the football field, we are going to play 10-on-10 football, and we're going to play cover 2 with these receivers. So this guy would now become the number 1 receiver, and this kid would be the number 2 receiver to our side. And that's how we'd read it. Okay, we'd like to get our hands on 1 and then be able to get our eyes on 2, right? Because in cover 2, if 2 takes off vertically, your rolled up kid needs to sink to the China hole to take away that. All right. But we don't have to worry about this outside receiver. So this safety here, okay, he could show up over this inside receiver who is now a number 2 in our count. He's not 3 because this guy doesn't exist to us. This receiver doesn't exist. He's not number 1 because he's locked on with this kid. So if this guy runs a vertical route, whatever he ends up doing, our safety doesn't care about what he's going to do. He's just going to defend these 2 guys on vertical routes, make sure he's over the top of those guys. Linebackers are doing what they would do in a cover 3 concept. They're going to work and wall off. Don't let anything over the middle of the football field. On the backside, there's some games that you can play. Obviously, you see the arrow where this guy's off and he's going to come up and be an outside leverage guy. This guy's showing like he's an alley player. He's going to bail back and be a hash. Safety. But you can also do different games over here. You could bring this kid in and blitz him, and then you can have this guy just play man-to-man on that guy on this backside, particularly if the ball's into the boundary. We like to start with this look because when we're playing these RPO and these spread teams, they put this kid out here and they call it access or the gift, and this is their number 1 read a lot of times, and we want to take that away initially, particularly if they're good at it. But again, you could play games with this guy coming off inside here as well. That's our mini cover 2. Our Tampa 2, we're going to put our outside backers, similar to our cover 2. but it's going to keep our whole player is going to be the free safety. And what it allows us to do is, again, when we're building our defense, our two best players on our defense, the guys that run to the ball, they're our best tacklers, they're going to play middle linebacker and free safety. And then we build everything out around those two guys. So in Tampa 2, this guy would be the whole player, but he doesn't have to worry about playing a deep third. He can come down and act as if he's another middle linebacker. So in this case, you're going to see us up here at probably about 7 yards, bailing back to be hash. Linebacker is going to work off and wall. So working with our inside linebackers, they're going to read 2. If they read pass, if they're going to read pass, they're reading 2. If 2 goes out, they're going to open their eyes up to this guy possibly becoming the new number 2, right? And we're going to wall off and we're going to get on a collision course with that kid, with that guy. Our rolled up guys are going to have their hands on one. We don't want to allow can't allow an outside release, although I say it here and you're going to watch video and these guys are going to get outside releases on us, and it happens. Something we're always working to get really good at because it's something we need to do. But our hands, once we engage this kid, we want to have our eyes on this kid, number 2. Again, if 2 drives vertically, we have to come off of number 1 and we have to take away that hole in cover 2, right? So it gives our safety help in that situation to any kind of smash concept that they might be running. Okay, and this is our quarter. So if we were to start a game off, to be honest with you, we're going to just play quarter. So our outside linebacker would be, 7 yards off of the slot receiver. And certainly we can have our free safety up on number 3 and then have him bail back and just play quarter. But you're seeing just the bare vanilla defensive set that we would run against a trip set. And this is quarter for us. Everything that we're doing, we're trying to keep our 3-3 intact. All right. So coverages that we might run is to try to keep our 3-3 intact so that we're really sound on the run, and it forces them, do they have numbers out here? Absolutely. If you think about the perimeter pass game, but again, in the perimeter pass game, if my guy here is great at defeating blocks, so he defeats a block and he can come up and tackle, I don't need to add numbers to that. A lot of people want we got to pull that stack out of the box here because they've got numbers. And then as soon as they start doing that, the easiest way to beat a team in football is just to run the ball, right? Hand the ball off, take the snap, hand the ball off, and run the ball. And we don't want to give them numbers. That's why we love the 3-3 so much, because that box is a tough box to run in. And particularly against these spread teams, we have great numbers against the run. Other thing we could possibly too is we could take out an inside linebacker and add another secondary guy and play our cover 3, okay, but lock up against maybe their best receiver on a certain down, right? It's 3rd and 8. We're going to bring in another guy. We're going to take our best cover guy and we're going to play him man-to-man, and then we're just going to play cover 3 behind it with 2 inside backers, and still have our outside backers that are protecting the seams. And it gives us another body on their best receiver, be able to get hands on them right away and still play with our cover 3 concept. So we would call this lock. Certainly you can man up anybody that you want to get an extra set of eyes on and hands as well. It's my email if you haven't gotten it yet. And then I'm going to go to the video with our coverages. So before I get into the specific coverage, I want you guys to see something that we preach is to reroute, right? So that's going to be, rerouting receivers is a priority. Oh, sorry about that. Is a priority for us now. And this first clip, you're going to see us just on pre-snap. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up in a cover 2. All right, we're going to end up in a cover 2, kind of giving our illusion that right now that we're probably cover 3. All right, and we're going to end up in cover 2. And they've got a slot guy that's running here, and although it's not as dangerous as it would be in cover 3, our inside linebacker is going to work out to that slot route or to that slot receiver, And we want him, when we coach this up, we want our helmet to be right underneath his chin and our hands engaged. And we want to be able to coil up and get a good punch on the guy. All right. Now we're going to get a flag here, guys. All right. There's the flag right there. And we're okay with that. This is the very first play of the games. This is live on ESPN. We're playing a team that's just won 2 state championships, and they'd beaten us in double overtime a few years ago in a state championship, and they were the best team in the state. And I don't think they had lost a game in 2 years. So this is the season opener, and we got to set the tone right away. And I think we're doing a good job. I think right away we get an opportunity, and because we've got our hands on their receivers, okay, we get a chance. We get a chance to get home on their quarterback as well. So first play of the game, we're trying to set the tone with great coverage, but we also get home on their quarterback. All right, and so their best player on their football team is this kid right here, who plays in the NFL now. And so the head of their beast, we were able to put on the ground on the very first play. Nothing cheap, but enough where we let him know that we were going to be in his grill all day. And yeah, we got a flag on it. There's no doubt about it. But we set the tone, and all of our guys, they see us just put the head of their beast on the ground. All right. And they know it's going to be a long day. And we end up winning that game. And it was important to make a play like that early on. I mean, set the tone against a team that maybe we didn't think we're going to be able to beat. Now I want you to watch this inside linebacker. We're looking at a tight set here. So he's going to read pass. Now he's got a tight end that's going to release vertical. That's number 2. So his job is to end that route, collision it, okay? Get his hands on that receiver, and then just continue to work with guys that may be in his zone. And he does a great job of collisioning the tight end vertically and getting that guy on the ground. On the other side of it, you're going to see a great collision here. The problem is we don't get our hands, and this guy still is able to climb. Now, that's a violent hit, and I like it. But I would like that guy to be on the ground if we could, not climbing. But look at our cover 3, right? We're here. We're trying to don't let those guys be backpedal guys, and let all these linebacker type guys, let them beat up on receivers underneath, right? Collision the receivers, put them on the ground, and then our 3 or 4 man pressure hopefully can get home to the quarterback, because when he wants to throw the ball, he's got nobody open. And then when he does throw it, we have D-backs that should be sitting back ready to make a play. You're going to see a vertical route here. This is great. It's a great clinic clip here against our cover 3. So you'll see we're really far off these outside receivers. All right. A lot of movement on our part. We get back, we're in our cover 3. Now, again, this guy should be popping his feet, and he's just reading number 2, and number 2 is coming vertical. Now he's going to try to set him up with an inside move, and we have to respect that because we do not want him to release inside vertically. So you'll see my kid right here. He's going to get into a position, and it's easy for me to talk about here. This is one of the toughest techniques, if not the toughest, in our defense. But he's going to take that charge, and right at the last second, he's going to coil and collision, right? Coil and collision that route so that we protect that vertical seam for our free safety. And again, you're going to watch our defensive back. We want our first 3 steps by our defensive backs to be slow read pedal steps. 1, 2, 3. Stick your foot in the ground. We don't want to get into a speed pedal right away because we're already off 7 yards.
Hey, Coach, 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. And collision it, right? Come up and collision it. So you get the idea about rerouting and us being physical. That's what we're trying to do. Here you're going to get our base cover 3. Now I want you to see now if they're going to run some kind of slant wheel or something. We got to make sure that this slant, because my inside backer's in the box, I don't want to displace him. Well, how do I protect against a slant route? Okay, he reads a lateral by that guy, all right, but instead of just chasing him, he knows that he's got to turn his eyes to this kid that's working in and help us out right there. Collision that route. Don't let it over the middle of the field. Make them throw that outside breaking route. And up top here, you're going to see an outside linebacker to the single receiver side. Now he's running, and he should be an underneath coverage guy. You're going to see him make a mistake of right there turning and going vertical when he should just go to the sidelines, particularly with the ball being on the 10-yard line. He should be underneath collisioning that kid because the back shoulder fade is there if the quarterback makes that pass. I want to show you that mini cover 2, what it looks like on film against a trip set. All right. So these guys right here, he's locked up man-to-man. They don't exist anymore. Nobody else is going to care about them. And everybody else is playing 10-on-10 football. So our outside linebacker is here. Free safety is going to be here, but he's a cover 2 guy. Our alignment here is, I don't know if we're playing a game or not, but he should be in a little bit more than where he's at to be able to play that. But again, we're collisioning their gift here. We're over the top. We're in a good position. We're in a good position here. And it allows us to pattern match their receivers. And again, that you got a team that's sprinting out here, and we're man-to-man on their outside receiver and underneath that comeback in a good position right there on their outside receiver, and the safety doesn't have to. We've bracketed this kid. Okay, always going to give up that shallow cross. So that's a look at what that mini cover 2 would look like. Let me get another one. Here's another one possibly that, again, that we're going to match up. Man-to-man outside here. And we'll be in a cover 2 situation with everybody else. We get beat like a drum right here, guys. All right. We get beat like a drum. That's a bad thing. But you notice how we're in a position. You got 8 guys up on their feet, right? Just based on our defense. You got 8 guys up on their feet. So when that ball is thrown, we're going to have a lot of bodies by that ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? A lot of bodies by that ball. Other coverage I'll show you.
Hey, Coach, is your mic on? Not hearing you at the moment, Coach. All right, coaches. Sorry to cut this one short, but we're going to move to a quick 5-minute break while I try to troubleshoot this problem. Thanks for watching and sticking around, and we'll be right back. Hey, coaches, I'm still working on this problem. If we're unable to get it fixed within the next 5 minutes, we might have to reschedule or just record this separately and put it on the vault. If you'd stick around for another 5 minutes, that'd be great. And I'll see if I can get it fixed, and I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you. Hey, coaches, I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. Coach Hetlet's giving his computer a quick restart, and I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get everything working after that. And again, like I said, if you need to take off, full session will be available on the Glazier Ball, hopefully within the next week. But if you'd just like to wait just maybe a little bit longer, I should be able to get everything working again. Thanks for waiting. Again, I apologize for the inconvenience. Technology, it really doesn't work when you need it to, you know what I mean?
Coach. Not sure I can hear you from the. Never mind. Okay.
All right, coaches, thanks for waiting. Sorry that happened. We're ready to get started again with Chad Hetlet for his fourth session, which is developing a defensive game plan. Coach Hetlet, go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
You guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you loud and clear, Coach.
All right, guys, sorry about that. Apparently some type of technical issues there. We're going to talk about developing a game plan. So for us, some of the things that we need to be able to do with our defensive game plan is before we get into the X's O's of our game plan, we want to make sure that we pressure the quarterback, and we'd already talked about how we want to be torment the receivers, knock them down. This is stuff that we'd give our kids, like I said, and explain the terminology and but more importantly, it's the meat and potatoes of what we are. So, how we go about defending each player on the offense, receivers, how we want to be physical with them, and running backs. Want to complicate the offensive line and confuse our blocking assignments with our pre-snap movement. So, the philosophy, we're going to talk about our game planning, practice, and prep. So again, and I'll send these PowerPoints out. They'll be available to you guys. What we want to take away what they do best. We talk about their top 5 run plays, talk about their top 5 pass plays. And we're going to do that on huddle, and then make sure our kids understand that. Our biggest thing is we want to make sure we make a team one-dimensional by stopping their best runs, and then forcing them to pass. And I know that's an obvious statement, but the things that we want to do to make them come out of what they're comfortable doing by matching what their formational tendencies might be, and matching our fronts with those things as well. Have pressure packages based on their protection weaknesses. We talked about that earlier, and confuse and intimidate the quarterback by the pressures and disguising our stuff. So for us, we're gonna film study is a major part of what we do. Obviously, on a Monday we're gonna do a lot of film study. We'll have the stuff all broke down for the kids on their huddle tendency sheet. We don't really meet a whole lot as a coaching staff defensively because, we know our automatics, we've worked together for long enough. It's not like you want to sit down and talk about all these new defenses that we want to run. We're at a point now where we know what coverages and what fronts we want to run against, certain offenses. And I think it's important. Sometimes you meet just to meet. And, for us, maybe we'd meet and talk about personnel more than anything, but, we want to prepare our work for our kids, and kind of simplify what our game plan would be by the time we get to our kids. And that's a work in progress throughout the week as well. I have this little template here. It's something that I created a long, long time ago, obviously. But in this template, it allows me, the very first time I'll watch a film, you'll see this is kind of broken down. And this is how I would look at, if I was watching a film, I have this hard copy, literally a sheet of paper. And you'll see, like, it says, this is 10 yards passing zone, 20 yards passing zone, 30 yards passing zone. And then I would just basically, like, if they threw something that were under 10 yards, and it was over to their left side, I would circle that. Or if it was incomplete, I would just, the second time they threw over there, I'd do that. Or, and the idea is, what I'm trying to do is just trying to mark out, where they may throw the ball to, you know what I mean? Like, they got one here, and they got, they've thrown one deep ball here. So you get an idea if they're throwing the deep balls. And a lot of times you'll see, like, guys are not even using this part of the football field. They don't even throw the ball in the middle. So that would affect what we do coverage-wise, but just to get our kids to anticipate things too. Maybe they like to throw to their right side, more than they like to throw to their left, or maybe they have more success based on film, one side over the other. Okay, so I would just do that in the passing game. And then what gaps are they running? Not even specific to the plays, but just, okay, they run to this. And it's a simple tendency sheet that I would use, like, okay, there's a lot of red over here, you know what I mean, in the A and B gaps, and there's not a whole lot over here. Or maybe they run a lot of perimeter plays, so you're going to get a lot over here. So it just gives me an idea when I first start watching something, how to break down before I even get into the, the X's and O's and all that kind of stuff. Okay. I'm that guy. I'm still a dinosaur with, giving kids a packet. And so, inside that package, the cover, and this is an old one, but, we just have regular headings. This is first state championship game in 2012. We always have something that, it's a ring game and be 1-0 the last time, and we have our mantra at the bottom of it. And I write them a note, okay? And it's important for me because I'm going to reflect back on that. I'll ask them different things inside here because I'm going to give it to them, you know, kind of in something that they can read, and then they'll get it. You know what I mean? I'm telling them all their top plays inside here. Well, my first paragraph when I write them is it's going to be just about the last game, great effort, way to fly to the ball, okay? But I also talk about loving them up and then caring about them and how important it is. You know, I couldn't pick a better group of guys to work with on Saturdays. And then I kind of transition. And then we go into the next week in this next paragraph. And I talk to them specifically kind of just in, you know, quarterbacking teams, what makes them go. We must hit him every chance. You know, he's the most dangerous guy when he's on the scramble. And so I'm just kind of telling them, I'm going to tell them, but I'm also going to have them read this, you know, and then we'll give them little notes. When the next play or the next sheet on that packet that I give them is going to be their top 5 running plays, right? That's what we're going to focus on. And I know I always talk 5. So we got 6 here. Sometimes you have to have 6 for passing. We're going to talk about what their screens and draw. Maybe they don't have screens and draws. All right. In this particular case, when number 2 was in the backfield in a passing situation, they ran a dump screen to him. So that's an alarm. We would tell our guys, hey, that's an alarm. So we're in the classroom on a Monday going through these things. Short yardage, goal line. These are this is the formation, the plays that they would run down there so that our kids would see them. Then I would talk about what our defenses that we're going to run that week, right? Our fronts, you know, our blitzes and stunts, you know, here, our coverages that we're going to run, and then anything that might be an automatic as far as alignment to formation and different notes. You know, I think this is true. Everybody wants to win, and not everybody wants to prepare to win. So I think if you do a lot on the front end to prepare these kids, I think it's important. So I don't want to get into defensive practice. We don't really have the time to do that. But you know, this is an example of what our inside run script would look like in a team that we're playing. And then these are the plays that they're going to run, and we're going to try to run these plays, you know, and when our inside run session is going to be a 10 to 15 minute window. And we're going to run these, and you'll see the plays repeat themselves. Flash, trap, triple option, dart. I mean, it's just going to be their top plays over and over and over again. This would just be a sheet that we would have. Here would be a team script, right? So 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 5, plays that they would run. Then I would have my defenses in this column that I would like to run in that situation. A lot of times, I'll put us in a bad situation, you know, with a defense we might call, and then my coverage call would be over here. But again, we're just going in bursts. The defense is going to run 4 plays. The offense is going to run 4 plays. That's how we do our team script. This is a 7-on-7 script. Their passing plays, the defenses that I would like to run against them in those scenarios. This would just be like a play that would be drawn up in our books. We would have a run book and a pass book so that when we show those kids the scout cards, that's what it would look like. Defense, and you know, on game day, getting the call on the field, I like to do everything by hand signals. But like I told you, I'd say 80% of our defense is called on automatic calls. So just making sure that, you know, we got automatics to formations, and we have automatic coverages to certain formations. But there's some adjustments that you have to make in a game. You know, now that we have the iPads on the sidelines and have for a couple of years, we're able to make some adjustments a little bit quicker than usual. But again, we are really based on making automatic calls with our fronts to certain formations. Always prepare for no huddle. We want to prepare every week as if we're playing a no huddle team so that we can go fast on defense, and that no tempo change is going to affect how fast we'll play on the field. Know our personnel groupings in case we need to go into a nickel situation where we'd add another defensive back type kid and take an inside backer out. Be prepared, be organized as a coach, right? My armband looks like this, or my wrist coach. And the numbers that you see here in these smaller columns are the numbers I would hold up with my fingers. So, for example, if I put both hands up with all 5 fingers on both hands, our kids would know that's Omaha 15, okay? Or if I put both hands up and I had 2 fingers on each hand, that would be 22. They would look down and be like, okay, it's a 5. Okay, so that this is just blown up on a PowerPoint, but this is what would be on my wrist coach. And we feel like, we feel like it's extremely important to get all these things across, but we also feel like, when we go into huddle and break down film, there's some things, oops. Yeah, that's right. There's some things that we need to do on huddle, that huddle provides for you. And one of those things with huddle, I apologize for getting this back up, but we had some technical difficulties, but this will be up quick. But part of how we're going to break down things on huddle, and the way we're going to tag things for our kids specifically, is going to be, after we've tagged everything in huddle, I want to create some of these things. So let me just take a look at an offense here. So when this offense comes up, one of the particular things that when we tag it, if you look at the bottom, the play's insignificant here. What I want you guys to see is some of the things that we are tagging. All right. And we talk about, if we were to bring up the play type, some of the things that we want to tag, and we do these analyze things. So if we're going to go into offensive plays, I want to just look at all their pass plays and analyze their pass plays here. And from there, I want to analyze the routes. To me, the routes are the next important thing when you're analyzing pass plays. So when you click on the Analyze button, there's another little mini Analyze button right here. And when you click on that little mini Analyze button, it's going to tell me what their top routes are, meaning that's what they've targeted. So when you see, for us, we'd say 2 strong bubble. That means it's the number 2 receiver to the strong side runs a bubble. Okay, that's 12% of the time. Then it's number 1 on the week out, number 2 on the week out. So it's important for us to tag it in that way. Yes, we tag what the play might be in the formation, but the route is most important for us. And then the personnel that then would be thrown to in that situation. So when we create, let me close this. After we take down, we tag all the offensive plays from all our scout film that we have, we would create a report. And the one report we'd create is their offensive plays by formation. All right. So when you've done all your tagging tendencies, then we're going to take a look at it and we're like, okay, now we're going to draw up our defense. And their number 1 formation is gun left quads. And that's just a 2x2. So that's doubles, gun left 2x2. We call it quads. And we want to take a look. Their run plays, right? Zone read, trap, dart back. Well, they're really just running zone read. I'm not worried about them running this play twice or this play once, this play. So zone, okay. So now we're gonna develop in our front to defend the zone read, right? And then what is their pass plays out of it? Okay, in this situation, and 7 times they bubble. So when they're in this formation right now, just in the first couple minutes of us looking at it together, you're going to say, well, their number 1 formation they run 17% of the time, they're going to run inside zone or they're going to run bubble. So you already know without even looking at film what kind of team we could be talking about. Okay, bird out concepts, right? 2x2, we know we're going to get bird out concepts. Got to talk about that with the kids, right? So that when we're starting to develop a game plan, we're going to look at these things first. Is anything different? Here's the same formation, but just flipped the other way. And now it's a little bit different. Now this has become, in this formation, gun rights as opposed to gun left, all right? They're going to throw the ball 55% of the time. Whereas it wasn't as high as this way. So is there a reason why? Is there a tendency why, right? In the run game, they're still heavy on the zone read. Okay, and then we tag certain formations a certain way so our kids, like I said, can gain an advantage by maybe our front. All right, here we take a look at this. They're split slot near. Now they have a snipper in the backfield, and their top play is stretch. All right, so now we're going to talk about outside, run, and we change our front based on what their formation is going to be. Here's gun queen slot. Now they're number 1. Okay, now it's not zone read. Now it's dart back. Now we got to worry about defending that. And what's that look like? Well, they don't pass the ball 16% of the time out of this formation. I don't think that I need to be, when they get to that formation, is the personnel change? They bring in different personnel than their double set. Gun near trips. Always usually a telltale sign, right? Gun near trips is when the back is set to the trips and they like to sprint out. All right. So number one play, some kind of sprint concept, right? And the other concepts that you might in here. So we're going to take a look at this. This is really our guide to how we're going to defend a team just off of this huddle. And I could take a look, like I said, I could click on any of these and take a look at what their zone read looks like, or what does their bubble look like. If I just click on it, it's going to look, this is what their bubble play is going to look like. So when we're showing it to the kids, like, all right, this is going to be bubble to number 2. This is what it looks like. This is how we're going to defend it. But remember, in this formation, their number one run play is inside zone. So we got to match up our formation to that. So developing our what our automatic calls might be, maybe we're going to run something where we got to defend their bubble and defend their inside zone. So maybe we're going to pinch, right? We talked about how we would defend the inside zone by pinching, the D lineman down and running the nose opposite of the back so that the inside zone back has to funnel back to the middle linebacker. Okay, well, our stack linebackers now have to account for the quarterback, cross-read the quarterback. And now we got to think about perimeter. Okay, well, they run inside zone, but their number one play in this formation is bubbles. So what is our best defense against bubbles? Is it where we roll up and play Tampa 2 and put this guy on number 1 and then have an alley player and have the free safety clean to be able to run to wherever the bubble might be? So that's where we're going to get our automatic calls based on formations, completely based on what a formation tendency would be. Where am I at on time?
You're good, Coach. You got another 10 minutes, and then we're going to move into a quick Q&A for a couple questions that got asked during the session.
So I think at this point, we'll open it up for any type of questions. Is this a Q&A time? I'm not hearing you guys very clearly at all.
Oh, okay. Well, sweet. I've got a couple questions here for you. This is one from Coach Martin. He asked, I'm sorry. He was asking about another eClinic by you for RPOs, and I'm afraid we don't have anything like that scheduled for the moment, but we'll have to look into that. Next question here by Coach Dowler. He says, I coach for a middle school that has no access to scouting. We're often the only team filming the games. The only film I have is what the teams used the previous year. Any suggestions on game planning with working in the dark? Still there, Coach?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. You hear the question all right?
I didn't hear the question. Go again.
All right. This is a question from Coach Dowler. He said, I coach for a middle school that has no access to scouting. We're often the only team filming the games. The only film I have is what the teams used the previous year. Any suggestions on game planning with working in the dark?
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to being able to run your base defense against anything that you're going to see. And then any scouting that you'd be able to do or be able to get out and see of an opponent, to get any kind of tendencies. But I mean, when you're playing defense without any kind of scouting material or game planning, I think the important thing is to have your base defense and then any base automatics that you might have. For example, if you're playing a jet sweep team, well, you're automatic against anybody running jet sweep, maybe blitzing that stack linebacker to stop the jet sweep. So building in, any automatics to a certain type of play, going into whatever game you're going to be playing, I think is important. I mean, that's something that we could possibly do. I mean, certainly in a game, we could see a team run a completely different offense and we would run our base defense and be very sound. I mean, we're going to spend the majority of our time running our base defense and then run fit and just running our base stuff, regardless of what the offense might be running. So, I mean, it goes back to just running your base stuff. I mean, we're just trying to take an advantage by what teams might be giving us with any kind of formation tendencies.
All right. Looks like that's actually all we've got for questions. I think you covered everything else during the breaks. Coaches, I want to thank everyone for hanging around and sticking around through our technical difficulties. Again, I do apologize for that. But it looks like that's going to be it for this eClinic. The recording of this eClinic should be available on the Glazier Vault within the next week, assuming we don't have any problems getting that up there. The eClinics this season work a little bit differently. If you registered for any of those through Zoom, you're going to be notified for any upcoming ones. So if that gets annoying, if there's too many that you're maybe not interested in watching, go ahead and cancel your registration and you'll stop getting notifications and emails for those. Again, thanks for stopping around and have a great evening.